Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Max Story.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for stopping by the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast today. Today, we're on part 17 of 30 as we continue the series on my book, Blue Collar Leadership and Supervision, Unleash Your Team's Potential, where I'm trying to help you learn the principles that you need to be able to apply with your team and other people beside you, people above you, how to lead and influence people 360 degrees from wherever you are, assuming you have a position of authority. But you do not have to have a position of authority, because I'm teaching you how to lead with authentic influence. It doesn't require a position. It doesn't require formal authority. But if you have a position and a formal authority, and you'll set it aside and you'll lead like I'm teaching you during this series, you can get some explosive results from your team. So chapter 17 today from the book is titled Clearing the Path. Subtitle, Leaders Remove the Obstacles. So in today's episode, we're focusing in on you as a leader. When you take responsibility for unleashing your team's potential, one of the things you need to do, there's like millions of things, but the one thing this chapter is focused on is helping you become aware that your job as high impact leader is to remove the obstacles. Low impact leaders, they don't even want to know what they are, because they don't want to have to go get involved and have to figure out how to overcome them, go around and go underneath them. They really don't want to hear about it. They want you to figure it out. But high impact leaders, if you're encountering an obstacle, they want to help you get around it, go over it, go under it, go through it. And if they can, they'll be looking farther ahead, and they're trying to get rid of obstacles so you'll never even see the obstacle. That's what real high impact leadership is about. So John Maxwell had this to say: leaders who navigate do even more than control the direction in which they and their people travel. They see the whole trip in their minds before they leave the dock. They have a vision for their destination. They understand what it will take to get there. They know who they'll need on the team to be successful, and they recognize the obstacles long before they appear on the horizon. And again, those are the words by John Maxwell. John's the author of my book. I talked about him in episode 1 of this series, but he's the author of my favorite book, is what I meant to say. My second favorite book, which is by John, is titled The 5 Levels of Leadership. So go back to episode 1 if you haven't listened to that, and you'll hear me talk a little bit about John and his book that I used to kind of kick off this series. But that's what he's talking about, is they have a vision. High impact leaders have a vision for their destination. They understand what it'll take to get there. They know who they'll need on the team to be successful, and they recognize the obstacles long before they appear on the horizon. What he's talking about is really some principles from my number 1 book of all time, written by Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. What John was just talking about is actually habit 1, being proactive, which says I'm responsible. Is habit 2, which is beginning with the end in mind. Who are we? Where are we? Who do we want to be? Where do we want to be, kind of thing. And then habit 3, putting first things first. Now that I know where I'm going, what do I need to do to get there? And if you understand those 3 habits, John kind of rolled them all into that one quote right there. And I remember a lot of times when I used to be on the shop floor, either when I was a consultant leading process improvement teams, or when I was working in the plants and leading my own teams, my coworkers through process improvement, or just simply trying to build relationships with the people that worked in the plant. One thing I would often do, especially as a consultant, when I'd first go into a company, I'd say, when I'm out just kind of getting to know the people and meeting people, or maybe we're just beginning a process improvement event and it's the first time we've been out onto the floor. One question I'll ask people is, if you were the CEO, what would you do right now to make your job better? That's one of the questions I'd often ask after introducing myself to frontline team members. I'm talking about the entry-level people. I would ask it of other people too, but most often I ask it to the entry-level people. And sometimes I was amazed by the simple answers that I would often hear. I'd tell them within reason. If you could do it, if you were the CEO, what would you do to make your job better? Some examples I've heard: I'd buy everybody a broom. It's kind of sad, isn't it? You ask somebody on the front line, what would they do to make the job better? They'd buy everybody a broom so they could clean up. Pretty sure there's a low impact leader. Whenever I heard that, I'm pretty sure there was a low impact leader around there. Probably on those folks pretty hard about keeping their area clean, and these folks didn't even have a broom. Or maybe the leader didn't care. Maybe that's why they didn't have a broom. But the person that was telling me that cared, but they didn't have a broom. The leaders would not supply them with a broom. It's amazing. Some other things I heard when I'd ask that question. Well, I'd add a hook right here so it would hold my tools so I wouldn't have to lay it over here on this table and walk back and forth and get it. Or I'd want a hook right here so it would be efficient for me to use this tool right here where I'm working. Another time I heard people say, I'd put trash cans in all the work areas. I remember when I heard that, and I know exactly why they were saying it, because when I was working in that area, I couldn't find a trash can. You had to walk all over and ask people, where's the trash can? That's ridiculous. How can people keep an area clean when they don't even have trash cans? I don't know what kind of decision making caused them to only have a limited number of trash cans, but it created a lot of waste. And this is a big one I heard. If I was a CEO, I'd go out and personally thank the people for the job they do. Remember, I shared a couple episodes back about how important recognition was, because a lot of people leave their job because they get little or no recognition. This was one of those people, I promise you. Because when I asked them if they were the CEO, what would they do right now to make their job better? I'd go out and personally thank the people for the job they do. It's awesome in one way to know a frontline individual is thinking at that level while they're on the front line. That's amazing. The sad thing is there's leaders in that organization that are not doing it, or that statement wouldn't have been made. A lot of low impact leadership out there, folks. Another answer was, buy some tools so I won't have to bring my own. So this person's hired to do a job and they can't even get the organization to provide the tools. I remember that question too. It was in a manufacturing plant. I mean, they needed their tools to work on the job that they were hired there to do because they couldn't get leaders to provide the tools. Or they had a culture where tools would come up missing. Either way, it's leaders' responsibility. But it's sad. It happens all the time. There's people out there who don't have the tools to do their job, and they're reporting to a low-impact leader, probably a bunch of them, but they have the character that they'll go spend their own money to bring in their own tools so that they can do a good job. That right there is why I do what I do. Those are some good people. And that's just one example. I know there are a lot of good entry-level, frontline, blue-collar people. They have some good character. Yeah, they like the rest of us. Some of them, they got work to do in some areas. But I know there's a ton of them. They got some good character, especially when it comes to work ethic. And we got to support them. That's why I'm so proud of you to be listening today. Another answer to that question, if you were the CEO, what would you do right now to make your job better? I'd add a light to my area so I can read my gauges better. All these answers, these are simple things that a leader could do. First of all, their leaders were not asking them these questions. And even if they were asking them these questions, they obviously were not addressing the answers to the question. This person wanted a light in the area so they could see their gauges, meaning their measuring gauges, their equipment, like micrometers, calipers, things like that, so they could see better, so they could have better quality. And I'm sure they're leaders in that plant, without a doubt, who are moaning and groaning about quality issues. But they're not out there taking responsibility, clearing the path, removing obstacles that's preventing these people from being highly productive, highly engaged, with high morale. All this stuff kills teamwork, kills morale. And it's all leadership related. Simple. So what all these answers, what all do they have in common? They were all made by people who have managers of people for a boss, meaning low impact leaders. Anyone on a high impact leaders team would have already had all of those issues addressed, because the leader would have been asking, how can I help you? And then they would have been helping them. Absolutely, sometimes people are going to say something that maybe you can't do, is truly outside of your control. But those examples I just gave you, anybody could do it. Anybody could do it. And I can tell you, I did it. If they needed trash cans, I went and got somebody and figured out how can we get trash cans in the area. If they needed brooms, I went and got somebody who worked in that facility and said, how can we get them brooms? Sometimes I'd go to the store and I'd put out my card and I'd get the stuff and I would take it back there. Not my personal card. I did that when I worked in the plant, my own plant before, just like those people who were bringing their own tools. I spent my own money sometimes to get somebody something they needed. But I'm talking about as a consultant, I would go find somebody who I could influence to make it happen, and we'd go make it happen. So I'd help them build a little credibility and give them the credit for making it happen to the people who needed the support. But that's what high impact leaders do. They remove obstacles. High impact leaders intentionally remove obstacles, which also builds trust and strengthens relationships. Some of these things appear to be insignificant when viewed through the eyes of a manager, but when viewed through the eyes of a high impact leader, these little things are the big things. Why is that? Because high impact leaders know when it comes to people, the little things are the big things. All those little obstacles that I was mentioning before, those answers to those questions, all those things that the people were wanting, simple things especially, that they wanted help with or would help them do a better job, when they can't have those things, it causes them to give bad word of mouth advertisement to the leaders, to the organization. When they out at the football game with their kid and somebody says, what's it like to work there? They may say, man, I can't even get a broom. Them bosses out there want me to keep my area clean. I can't even get a broom. That's what people say when they're out in public. That's called bad word of mouth advertisement. And then this company wonders, why can't we find any good people? It's because our people are out telling everybody in the community what it's like to work here. So then we have to deal with people who don't have a lot of choices. So that's the kind of people we attract. A lot of times that's the kind of leaders a company attracts, or leaders who don't have a lot of choices. That's why they get a lot of low impact leaders, because they got low impact leaders all the way to the top. So if you're a high impact leader, removing obstacles is not your job. It's your responsibility. Will you help your team help you? Go out there tomorrow or today when you get through listening to this, ask people on your team, if you were the CEO, What would you do right now to make your job better? To make it better when you walk through the door every day? You may be surprised. But whatever it is, see if you can remove that obstacle. They may not even report to you. You may be a support person, or you may have an entry-level job. But there's a whole lot of people with entry-level jobs that have a lot of influence who will take responsibility and get things done. Those people have a lot of influence. So I'm going to leave you with this thought by Jack Welch. He says, when you are an individual contributor, you try to have all the answers. When you're a leader, your job is to have all the questions. So that's what I'm challenging you as a high-impact leader. Have all the questions. Go out to the people. Go find them. Go talk to them. Ask them questions. Look for obstacles that can be removed and remove them. And even better than that, remove obstacles before they even become aware of it so that they can make things happen. Hope you enjoyed this lesson on clearing the path. And don't forget, leaders remove the obstacles. Have a great day.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Max Story's Blue Collar Leadership series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Max books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.